Hello everybody and welcome to The United Stand. It's not The United Stand, it's going for Goldbridge. Do subscribe, bottom right hand corner. We're back with your questions and lots to talk about. The man with the tea bag in the sink is going to come back. But I'll tell you what, I want to talk about trolling, I want to talk about my real name, I want to talk about your questions, I want to talk about lots of things today. But I just want to say, on the start of trolling, there's a very good line out of Batman that's very, very good. And it's something like this. I'm the hero that Gotham deserves, but it's not the one it needs right now. And I think in relation to trolling, this is very, very true. And it's definitely my experience. Because, look, what's trolling? You know, people say, oh, how do you put up with people saying the horrible things they say about you? And I'm like, well, there's people who get it a lot worse than me. But actually, if somebody calls you something that really bothers you, and I'm not going to give people examples because we all know them, but if one person says it to you, does it really matter if 10 different people say it to you? Because if it's going to bother you, the one person's going to bother you. So that's how I contextualise trolling, is that actually, why do we always talk about volume? Like, oh, Mark, how do you put up with the people who are horrible to you online? Well, one thing is bad, isn't it? And what I always find funny is that these people who do it, if you check their social media profiles, because some of them are so thick that they put them out there, you look at them, and they're people who've clearly got a family, probably even got kids, you know, maybe well into their 30s, 40s, 50s, and the stuff that they say and then their mates retweet, it's like you belong in a school playground. It's like, it's ridiculous, it really is. But, look, I was approached about 18 months ago by one of these mental health, I think it was mental health or a bullying group, and they said, oh, would you be willing to do stuff? And I said, yeah, I would. And then after about 2 weeks, they looked at somebody had a right go at me, and I said, yeah, but you look like a fat kid on cake. And they went, oh, we don't agree with that. And I said, to be honest with you, we're not going to work together then, are we? Because I do it my way, and it's a bit like that line out of Batman, you know, it's the hero we need, but it's not the hero we need right now. Actually, these trolls have got such a dominance on people. Like, so they bully people, they're relentless. Twitter don't do much about it, social media doesn't do much about it. They just set up a new account and they have a go at people. And look, I can deal with it, and I'm sure a lot of you can deal with it, but some people can't deal with it. Some people can't even being dealt with being told to F off on social media. Everyone's got different thresholds. But the problem is, these anti-bullying groups and everything, they do great things, and you know, it's the old fart in the lift thing again, isn't it? Oh, mine don't smell. Well, the reality is, it's a bit like Donnie Brasco, isn't it? But Axel Foley, Batman himself. If you want to deal with these people, you've got to get down and dirty, and that's what I mean. If you do it by the law, if you don't react to these people or don't put them in their place sometimes, then they just prosper. And my thing has always been, as people know, I will try and bite back with a bit of banter. You know, if somebody has a go at me sometimes, I'll just quote tweet it and say, look at this prat. And then they get a taste of their own medicine, and they might learn from it. But I mean, obviously people say, wow, you're just as bad as them. But for me, I'm not going to start calling them that they're doing something to a dog or kids or stuff like that other people say. I might take the piss out of the fact that they're wearing glasses and they look like Harry Potter. Well, that's glasserist. Well, I suppose it is at the end of the day, but the reality is, it's like people are tackling this problem, I believe, in the wrong way. I think that, you know, sometimes you've got to go in hard on these people, because otherwise they just keep doing it. And a lot of them think they're doing it for banter, but they're using terms and words that are very, very damaging to some people. So am I going to sit there and just go, oh, just block them and ignore them? Sometimes I think, actually, you know what? People say, oh, don't give them any air. But sometimes, you know, we get it with Manchester United. Sometimes we'll get someone going, Munich. If you quote tweet that and say, look at this dickhead, they're going to get absolute pelters from most of the United fan base, and they're going to have to shut down. Or they're going to have to shut up, because they're going to suddenly realise what they're trying to inflict. And I think that's a very good example, and you could use it with Liverpool as well. If a Liverpool fan is tweeting something and then a rival fan says, ha ha ha, Hillsborough, or something like that, that Liverpool fan's got every right to quote tweet and say, look at this dickhead, and then the weight of Liverpool fans will jump on them, and that person who said that thing is going to get a lot of heat on them. And I actually think that's really important. I think that these bullies and trolls actually do need the heat on them, and I think that the way that we deal with this problem needs to evolve. I think it really does, because I think the current way of doing it is, let us deal with it, we'll report them to Twitter. And that's what I got told. I was like, you know, we want to help you, we want to use you to sort of promote what we do. And I was like, well, what do you do if someone's being bullied online? Well, we get in contact with Twitter and they shut it down. And I'm like, look, I'm not bloody tech savvy, but there's, you know, you just start another account up, and you can even use the same account and put another number next to it. So it's not a problem to stop it. So I actually think that, you know, people say don't feed the troll. Actually, the troll is feasting anyway. The troll gets shut down, and that feeds the troll. Oh, I've been suspended. Let's see how long I can last. Let's see what boundaries I can push. So I actually think, you know what, I don't really care about what people think about how I deal with it. Sometimes I ignore it, sometimes I block them, and sometimes I'll just out them. But when you out them, you get classed as, oh, you're just as bad as them. Look, he might have said that you do this to dogs, but you've said he looks an idiot in glasses. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to say the vile stuff that he says, but I will have a pop back. So there you go. I think trolling, for me, the message I would say is it doesn't matter how much trolling you get. One person gets one bad thing and it can absolutely break them in two. So yeah, it's a problem, and it always seems to be a problem. But a little bit of a lighter note now. I've been going for Goldbridge quite a bit, and people always say that one of their favourite stories is the tea bags in the sink one. I'll give you the highlights. So basically, this is from Ireland, so it fits in with Abdul Akhtar said, "What's the funniest and scariest things you've had to happen to you while you lived in Ireland?" Because I'm going to go through some of your questions in a minute. And I think the scariest thing that ever happened to me was that because most of my time living in Ireland revolved around drink, I was in my early 20s living there for 3.5 years. I spent most of my time drunk and, you know, in Dublin, and I think I was in the wrong area of Dublin. I don't know whether it's the wrong area now, but there was all the River Liffey runs through. There's a north side and a south side. The south side, which is Grafton Street and St Stephen's Green, was always considered the nicer side to the north side, which is O'Connell Street, Henry Street. So we were on the north side after, I think it was a night out for Christmas or something like that. Basically, we're in some abracadabra, which is the equivalent of a McDonald's over there. And there was this group of, well, we called them knackers, basically. I mean, I don't even know if that's a nice term. Probably not, but it's basically what Irish people used to call, I don't know whether they still do, people who have got really broad Dublin accents and probably from the north side. I don't know. Anyway, they were there in this restaurant and they were being really gobby in that. And one of them looked at me in a funny way and obviously heard how I spoke. I nearly started speaking like one. Heard how I spoke. So I was like, what are you looking at? And then obviously they really knew. So they were like really interested. And then anyway, ended up telling them to F off. And there was about 20 of them and 4 of us. So we had to run. And I think if they would have caught us, it's the sort of, they might have put us in a suitcase and threw us in the Liffey. So it was quite scary, actually, because we were on their manor. They probably knew all the back streets and everything like that. The only backstreet boys we knew were the ones who were singing I Want It That Way. So, yeah, that was a little bit scary. But, look, going back to the tea bags in the sink, there was this guy that we used to do like little pranks at... we basically worked in an office, and it was a bit like The Office. And it was around that time. It was the early noughties. So that was roughly the time that David Brent was doing The Office as well. So it was a little bit similar to that. And so we used to do like little silly pranks and things like that. And one of them was that we could see where you went out of the office and there was a toilet door to the gents, and we put out of order for a week, and it wasn't out of order, but me and my mate used to just slip in and we'd have the toilet to ourselves, not together. It wasn't anything like that. That sounds like sordid, but that was a little bit of a joke because people had to go upstairs, and anyway, they eventually found out. But tea bags in the sink, there was this little canteen that was about on the edge of the office, and this guy, we figured out one morning, he walked in, we could just hear him shouting, "Oh, tea bags in the sink, Blues put tea bags in the sink," and we just thought it was hilarious. It wasn't us, but we then proceeded for weeks to put tea bags in the sink, and you'd wait purposely for him to go in there. I mean, it even got to the point where we'd see him making a cup of tea. We'd wait until he must be about 5 to 10 minutes into it, because he'd always bring it back to rinse it, and we'd slip in with a couple of tea bags. We didn't even like tea. We just used to pour it under the hot water tap and then leave it in the sink. And then we'd just sit there with little smiles on our face, watching him go in like this, like you do. So you're trying to be insuspicious, be like this. And you just hear him go, "Oh, feckin' hell, there's tea bags in the feckin' sink again." Because in Ireland they say feck, which to me, I always thought was like going fuck. But I met my girlfriend's mother at the time, and she said that the feck word, and I was like, oh my god, this is a bit steep. But apparently feck doesn't mean fuck, but to me I always took it as that. So yeah, that was quite funny, but it made me thinking about like little pranks I've played over the years. And what always makes me laugh about these little pranks is that people expect you to own up. Like, I remember being in the police, we used to have these airwaves radio system, and I'm holding it there because it was basically like Well, that's my phone, but it was a bit bigger than that, and you had this thing on the back, and you just clip it on and twist it so it would stay there. So if you were running or anything like that, but you'd press the button and you'd talk into it like that if you were driving or something. But the great thing was you could do something called point to point, which is basically a little bit like voice messaging. So you would, if you knew one of your mates was on a different car and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, you could knock their code in, press the button, theirs would start going beep beep, and they'd press it and go hello, and then you'd be talking point to point, like no one else could hear you. But what we figured out is if you point to point your mate in another car, and you go, hi mate, do you fancy meeting up at the kebab shop for a kebab? And then you let go, and then you end the call. When they press their button to talk back, they're talking out to the whole district. So we would do things like, hi Rich, how you doing, all right? Yeah, I'm doing all right, how you doing? Yeah, really good. Oh, what did you think about that meeting today we had before we came out? Oh, she's such a bitch. She's always, you know, like the sergeant. She's such a bitch. She's always having a go at people and bullying people. So what you'd do is you'd go, what did you think about the way such and such looked today? Kill the call. I don't know. To be honest, I think she looked bloody disgusting. I don't know what the makeup's were and her hair. What's she done to her hair? She looks like Wurzel Gummidge. Of course, you've ended the call. They think they're point to pointing. They're going across the whole district, which would always be really funny. But the best thing about it is because the whole district would hear that, and I'm saying the district, it's your area, so all the police cars or anybody monitoring radios, the inspector for the night for that shift would always instantly come on and go, PC, whatever it is, I want you in my office now. And whoever, I know what's going on. Someone's point to point at him, asked the loaded question, and then cut him off. So he's answered that. So I'm going to speak to him, but I also want the person who's done it in my office with him in 10 minutes. And we'd be sat in our car going, Of course, you know, it just makes me laugh that people think you're going to own up. Oh, sorry, sir, it was me. I'll be there in 10 minutes. It's like there was when I was at secondary school, there was a lad in our class, right? There was this teacher we didn't like, and I might have told you this before. There was a teacher we didn't like, and he was a bully. He was a bit of an arsehole, really. We've all had him, and he started this lesson off particularly arseholey. He was just being a complete arsehole. Anyway, his cup of tea was at the front. He said something really horrible, and he said, "Oh, I've just got to go and get some books from the next class. I'll be back in a minute." So my mate had these packet of tree ball mints. He went, fuck this. He stood up, took a tree ball mint and dropped it into the cup of tea of this teacher. Of course, we're waiting. 4 or 5 of us saw it, not the whole class, thank God, because there's always goody two-shoes who are going to snitch. So we're watching him as he comes back, finishing his tea up. Anyway, it couldn't have gone any better. In fact, it could have gone very bad. He takes a final swig of his tea and the tree ball mint goes down and gets stuck in his throat. So he proceeds to half choke in front of the class, which was comical at the time because he didn't choke. He just made a prat of himself. Anyway, of course, after he'd realised he wasn't going to die and he'd coughed it out, he then went into batshit mode, where basically he was like, "You're all on detention for the rest of the year." In fact, it was the last class of the day. We used to finish at 20 to 4, and it was the last class of the day. And a lot of us used to have to get buses back to where we lived from. And he was like, "I'm keeping you in." And we were like, "You can't do that because then we're all going to miss our bus." "I don't care." "Well, our parents will." You know what kids can be like. Anyway, he was like, "Anyway, right, you're all back tomorrow lunchtime then." So he got us back tomorrow lunchtime, and he basically said at the start of the class, at the detention at lunchtime, "If you own up, then I will deal with it. But if you don't own up, I'm going to have you all in detention for the next 2 weeks." And the headmaster's agreed with me. And he says, "I'm going to go out the room now for 5 minutes, and the person who's done it needs to own up." So we were like, "Well, we're not owning up." The people who knew, I said, "Don't own up, because if you own up, you're going to get more than 2 weeks detention anyway. So what's the incentive?" And we can't negotiate with him because he'll know we were involved in it. So I said, "We just got to sit quiet and do nothing about it." Anyway, these goody two-shoe girls come over and go, "We know it's you and it's not fair. We're missing out on hockey practice." And we're like, F off. And they were like, "Well, we're going to snitch." And we were like, "Well, you don't know who it is." So just why would you own up? "Oh, I'll own up so you can give me a worse punishment than I'm going to get by not owning up." It just makes me laugh. But so we took the 2 weeks detention. We didn't fall into that one. But yeah, I mean, it's the arrogance and that people think you're going to own up for things. Now, look, if you've done something serious, you need to own up. But if it's a joke, if it's a bit of a banter thing, then, you know, another thing that used to happen in the police a lot was, it was very childish actually. There's lots and lots of computers because you've got to do a lot of paperwork, and the one of the rule one that they tell you in the police when you start as a junior is lock your computer and have a good password on it, because if you get up to go and make a tea, or you go off somewhere and you leave your computer open, someone will go in your emails and they'll send a global email out. And it happened all the time. You come in the morning to check your emails, and there'd be, I'd guarantee at least 3 times a week there'd be an email in your inbox that was a global email from somebody who clearly left their computer open. And what would happen is they've left their computer open, someone would jump on their email and send it out, and it would be something along the lines of, I absolutely love working here. I've got such a boring life at home. I just go home and watch repeats of peak practice and sit in my pants noodle. I absolutely love coming to work, and I absolutely love what I do. In fact, I'd like to do more. Boss, inspectors, if you want me to come and lick your toes or polish your boots, I'm available even in my own home time. Here's my personal number. It'd be that sort of thing. It wouldn't be lewd, but it would just be, of course. Then the global email would go out from the inspector. Whoever's done this has clearly jumped on somebody's email, which is against policy and actually can lead to you being dismissed from the police. Whoever's done it, I want you to contact me. You've just threatened me with the sack, and I'm now going to own up. Now, I never used to do that email thing because I think it was just a bit, I just think it was a little bit basic for me. I'd rather do cling film on the toilet or something like that. But it just makes me laugh how people, they get so cross and they think you're going to own up. Like at my daughter's school on the last day of school last year, they'd done, as a joke, they put the headmistress's face on a porn star's body and put it posters all around the school. It's not good, is it? I mean, don't laugh, it's not good. But again, they pulled everybody into the assembly and they went, it was the final year sixth formers, I think, who'd done it. You're not having your final sixth form party now because this is disgusting unless the person who owns up does it. And I'm telling you what, it's an expellable offence. Well, okay, I'm going to own up then just so I can get expelled. You know, it's these people come out with stupid ways of trying to get people to confess to banter jokes, don't they? But, you know. Each to their own, I suppose. Each to their own. Right, let's have a look at some of your questions. Who was your inspiration to get into the sports realm? Not interested in that. Tash Riff, I'm afraid. Don't really do that. Favourite Oasis song? Get asked it all the time. Dill, depends on the mood. Listen up. Rocking chair. Let's all make believe. Slide away. Might be controversial, but do you see TUS collaborating with other United channels in the future? Mate, I don't really want to talk about United Stand or anything like that because this is my release from that and football, so I don't really want to talk about that. But anybody who meets me and knows me knows that I'll talk to anybody. I'll also fight my corner against anybody who puts crap out there. I mean, I heard somebody at the weekend calling me an actor and saying that the United Stand's run by a media company and that I'm an actor and that I'm a Forest fan and that's why I've not got my real name. It's like, but it gets very boring because these people have quite influential voices, but they expose themselves to be very thick because they're just believing a lie. And look, you might not like me, you might not like the United Stand, but surely you've got a little bit of a brain that, you know, spreading lies about somebody feeds your bitterness, which says everything about you, that you're so angry and bitter that you will believe total nonsense. The reality is that the truth is out there. The United Stand would not be owned by Sky or MUTV or anything like that and start off in my bedroom with 10 people watching for a year. And it wasn't my bedroom, it was my living room. But also, so that's that. We're not owned by a media company. We've never been owned by a media company. It's always been run by me and then other people have got involved in it. So that's one thing. The second thing, the Forest fan thing's just because I'm from Nottingham. This is a load of bollocks. I've spoken about this before. You know, I went to my first Manchester United game in 1989 and I wasn't even 10 years of age. So, and I'm not from Manchester, and football wasn't like that in those days. We didn't have football on the telly. I mean, most of my Manchester United viewing was done via teletext. The page would change. It'd say Hughes 22 minutes, and I'd be celebrating running around the living room to typed words. So that's what football was like for me as a kid. It wasn't, you know, these people say, well, it's not that hard to get in your car and go up to Manchester. To be honest, if you're from a background that's not got a lot of money in it, it's very, very difficult to do that. So these pompous people who, you know, judge people without knowing their backgrounds, bite it. As for the name thing, well, look, we were just talking about some of the things I did. When I started the United Stand, I was in the police. I couldn't use my real name, so I had to make a name up. This is information that's known. I spoke about it on the True Geordie, but I spoke about it on the United Stand years ago. And still people go, well, it's not his real name. It's not his real name. Who makes up a real name? He's from Nottingham. He's a Forest fan, and it's run by a media company. It's just not real. It's just not real. He's not one of us. He's not a real fan. He's not a real fan. It doesn't look right. He's not from Manchester. You know, it's just idiotic. I get that people don't like me. That's part of life. Get on with it. There's a lot of things I don't like. But I don't spend my time spreading lies about people I don't like, and I don't spend my time obsessing about people I don't like. It's just about opinion. There's a lot of good things that have been done by the United Stand. Thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds raised for charity, contributed to things like the Busby Manchester Munich Memorial Foundation. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're not bad people. If you don't like the opinion, don't watch it. But, you know, everything... I'm more than willing... Any of these haters, get me on your podcast, get me on your channel. I'll sit down and I'll sit you down as well. You can ask me anything you bloody well like, because I've been accused of it all anyway, and it's all a load of bollocks. So, you know, yeah. So look, I'd happily go on any channel. I'm not fussed, and I don't really have any axe to grind with any people unless I've met them and they've been a complete dick. And to be honest with you, most of the people I've met in this industry aren't even United fans who are dicks. Some of them are in the mainstream media, but most of them, you know, it's an odd industry. It's an odd industry full of self-righteous, pretentious, shallow people who would chuck you in the river to keep themselves dry. Mistakes you've made that you thought had huge implications at the time, but in the grand scheme of things didn't make much difference. What a question that is, Theo. That's the sort of thing that. You know what? I really, this is really minor, but when I failed my driving test, I was distraught. I was so geared up to passing, and I had my car ready and everything like that, and I was devastated. It really bothered me. So that I mean, that's probably not what you're expecting, but in the grand scheme of things, I passed it next time. Favourite sweet chocolate that is no longer on sale? That's a good question as well. I don't really know. I can't think of anything that's not on sale anymore. It's a good one for the comments, that. What's your favourite sweet or chocolate that you liked that's not on sale anymore? Answers in the bottom. I'd love to do radio. If you had to choose one memory to live, which one would you choose? It says Ali MUFC. God, that is unstoppable, because I've got 3 kids, so I can't pick birth of any of them because they're all equally good. So that's not one event. Wedding day was very nice, but I think me and the wife both agree it was a bit shit because family issues at the time meant we couldn't ever have the wedding that we wanted to have. My advice to people about that is you can't, you know, whatever about your family setup, everybody has issues in their family, and we put off getting married for years because we wanted this perfect day where everyone got on, and all around us people just didn't get on, and at the end we just ended up having a registry office wedding, and we booked out, it was a summer's day. The wife's mum had a really nice house at the time, and we just got all tables and chairs and had friends round. I mean, and it was a good day, but it wasn't the, you know, I wouldn't say it was the memorable day that we wanted because we couldn't have that. But not everybody has that. Some people don't even have parents. They obviously did at some point, even if it was in a test tube. But you know what I mean. It's so I don't know. I think I think there's so. I think I've answered my own question there. I don't think there is one defining moment. I think I've had so many, and not all of it is like I don't feel the need that I have to say, oh, you know, meeting my wife, kids being born. All those things are fantastic, but you have great moments when you're growing up in previous friendships and relationships. But no, I think for me it's you know, there's loads and loads, and most of them would revolve around my kids and my wife. So there you go. And I'm not itching my nose because I'm lying. It makes me laugh. I've got a hair coming down. I don't know whether you can see it. It makes me laugh how people say that these non-verbal skills give a lot away about when you're lying or not. I mean, look, I've done all those courses. They can be precursors, but they're not by any means. Like when Harry Maguire, I have really got a hair sticking down. It's irritating. There it is. Proof. You won't see it though. Harry Maguire didn't make eye contact when he was doing his interview. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he was ashamed. You know, there's loads of reasons why not. I've not watched Blade Runner 2049, but I do want to watch it, Sunil. It's on my list. Jamie says that all the Going for Goldbridge videos at the start of lockdown really helped me. They helped me a lot as well. I mean, I think at Christmas I'm going to go back and watch them just to sort of go back to that time again. But yeah, it is interesting. If you could be any superhero, who would it be? Is it Pineapple Man? I've still got a hair. I'm going bold. The YD. And I like Batman. I'm watching all the Batman films again, which is why I've referenced it 3 times in this video. Opinion on the Beatles. I think because the Scousers, they're good. The Beatles, I mean, this is gonna, you could clip this, but the Beatles are good, but I don't think they're amazing. But that's my opinion. Best and worst drinking memories. Oh, I think your best drinking memories are always 3 or 4 pints in. That's your peak. That's where you should start drinking water and just try and keep that peak. My worst drinking memory is and I may have told it you before, is just hangovers. I remember being in Ireland, and I remember I was at Gibney's pub actually, and just down the road from Gibney's pub is the marina, and I was hammered. I don't know, I think I'd been on the spirits before we'd gone down the pub, and I was absolutely hammered. And we'd come out the pub, and I was with this girl, and she was like, "Oh shit, I've forgotten my sister. She's still in the pub." So I was like, "I'll just sit here. I'll just sit here." And she went back to the pub, and I was just sat there. And the worst thing happened. This group of lads came along, which I sort of knew, and they were like, "All right, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh," but they weren't people I particularly liked. So they were just taking the piss out of me, and I was absolutely hammered. But you know, you can be really, really drunk, and deep in your head, you're still you, but your body, I didn't even want to move. I was like this. I was just like, oh, you know. And but even deep inside, I was like, they're taking the piss out of you. But if I move, I'm going to throw up and probably fall over. So just take it. You just got to sit and take it. That was a particularly bad time. And I also knew as soon as I got home, I was going to start throwing up because I was that sick. I was that bad. And there was another time as well when I was about 17. I was at a party down the local pub back in Nottingham, and I'd already had enough. And I went in the bar, and someone went, "Oh, why don't you try one of these?" And it was a bottle of, I think they called it meth or something like that. Not what you think. It was basically one of these Alco Pops. I was already drunk. I'd already had too much of beer. I tasted one of these, and it was like lemonade. I then proceeded to have 8 on top of about 7 pints of beer. I think I was hungover for a month. I was just awful. The thing is, I hope people don't do this anymore, but I used to religiously go out every Saturday night and drink till I was sick. And don't do it. Just don't. Just have 4 or 5 pints and enjoy yourself and get a bit merry and have a good time, because it's an absolute. It was literally just go out and get sick. I tell you what I'm doing. I'm looking on Twitter at the moment to see if they've announced Van der Beek yet, because I've been waiting for that all day as well. But look, I think that's long enough for a Going for Goldbridge. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please smash a like on video, subscribe if you are new, and thank you everybody very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. At Mark Goldbridge on Twitter if you want to get future questions in, because I always tweet out that I'm going to do a Going for Goldbridge. And I hope you found something in there that was interesting or useful, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.